We had a historic presidential debate on Thursday between current President Joe Biden, former President Donald Trump, and almost a week later, we're still dealing with the fallout from President Biden's debate performance. People now are calling for him to step aside, drop out of the race. You have been saying he's not going to be the Democrats' nominee for months now. Can you talk about why you've been saying that?
I've been saying that for nearly a year and a half now. I said it for much of the campaign trail last year, though it was dismissed as a crazy idea last year. It has now become the mainstream view of what's going to happen. And the reason is, first of all, I think most organizations, including political parties, tend to do whatever's in their best long-run interest. So I think that the plan as it's played out, not that it's been in some smoke-filled backroom plot, but just the incentives match exactly what you're seeing play out, which is a late switch would actually be to the advantage of Democrats. That's the hard reality, where they'd rather put somebody up late, still in the honeymoon phase with the public when the election occurs in November, but without having the chance to go through that scrutiny phase. To anybody who's been watching this for a long time, it's been plain as day that Joe Biden does not have the cognitive faculties to serve as the US president. It's sad. Many people across this country do suffer from dementia. It does appear like Joe Biden is likely to be one of them, but that doesn't entitle him to be the president of the United States. To the contrary, I'm really worried about, even right now in the lead up to the election, who exactly is running the country. It's been unclear who's running the country for the last year and a half. I think it's certainly unclear who's running it right now. But I do continue to believe, as I have for the last 16 months, that Joe Biden will not be the nominee. And I think in some ways this election, for that reason, hasn't really even kicked into full gear.
I had a conversation a few hours ago with a Republican Congresswoman, Harriet Hageman, and she asked that same question. I am curious who's running the country. I'm going to flip it back to you. Who do you think is running the country right now if you don't think it's Joe Biden?
Look, I think it is a managerial machine. For so many years in America, we've seen the decline of our constitutional republic into this administrative bureaucracy, the rise of the administrative state, the rise of bureaucrats who are never elected to their positions, who are really the ones setting most of public policy today. It's interesting, even just last week, the Supreme Court did rein in a good amount of that administrative power. But whether you want to call it the deep state, the administrative state, the fourth branch of government, or the unelected bureaucrats, that's, I think, the class of people, particularly around Joe Biden, who are really running the show. And they've really just put up a president really as a symbol, as a kind of puppet, for a machine underneath it that's really driving most of the policy decisions. And so, that's not conspiratorial or accusational. I think it's just a descriptive reality of how Washington, D.C. works today. The people we elect to run the government are not the ones actually running the government. And nowhere is that more true than in the case of Joe Biden, who is only nominally, in some thin nominal sense, the president of the United States. I don't think in any real, actual, true sense, he really is even the president, which is part of why I've long advised Republicans, and said so as a candidate myself, that the way that we need to win this election isn't just by criticizing Biden. Frankly, Biden isn't going to be the nominee, as I've said for the last year and a half. The way we're going to actually win not only this election, but revive this country is by defining who we are and what we stand for and what are those values that we're actually advancing rather than just worried about the candidate who we're running against.